Hey fellow Force users and hello fellow senators, what is up? It's Jasmine, the AhsokaTanoFan. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Get it, senators? Because I'm kind of rocking a Mon Mothma inspired look. Alright guys, so it is time for the final episode of Andor, the series finale. You could check out my previous reaction and review videos for the show, but you guys kind of know how I'm feeling about it already. I think it's an excellent series, and these last few episodes especially have just been bangers, to say the least. So where we last left off last episode was the Empire closing in on Clea. Cassian is there as well. I'm predicting that this episode will end off showing us the events of Rogue One. Somehow, it's either going to be the start of Rogue One or it's going to show us the very final scene of Rogue One, but we're getting it. I think so. We're not going to waste any time with this. We're going to blast our way right into the series finale of Andor and check out what's in store for us. Oh, okay, so they brought it back to the original sounding music. Because recently they've been kind of changing up a little bit the intro.
You can rest there.
As a prisoner.
As a hero.
Man, can't they have this conversation on the ship?
You need to see the place you helped build. You need to tell them what you told us. Nothing.
It's not us, so it's a link transmit from the ship, so it's a bit...
Oh, is that a droid? Oh, yep. That would be him. There's the source of the failure right there. So at least they only have these guys to deal with now because they've lost communication with their backup, right?
Last unit on the left.
Still no comms.
We're wasting time.
He's doing kind of what Dedra did. I hope they have a vent in there that they could crawl through. Are they somehow on the wrong floor?
Sign up. Two with me.
Look at him hiding in the middle. Careful, Cassian.
You can stop right now!
How the hell did they not see that coming?
Only raise your hands above your head.
Oh no, so he's gonna be the fall guy for them.
Sudden movements. Hold your fire.
No sudden movements, and he moves.
Okay, where are you? Okay.
There he is.
Stop right there. Sergeant!
Oh man. I love this guy, man. I'd want him on my team. No. You know what? I'm feeling like maybe they should have just shut the door. Made it a little more difficult for them. Oh man. I think the other guy is gonna die and then Cassian and Clea are gonna live. That's my guess. Oh man. This guy's a gunner. I knew it. Is he already dead? Oh wow. Yep, he's definitely dead. Haha, man. I love this. Perfect timing. Clea's okay though, right?
Zone 3512, any unit, push the request.
See, even he looks fearful, right? Because now he's gonna have to report this to Krennic. Okay. And off to Yavin they go.
You can speed up now.
Not even a thank you? I know. I wonder why he was kind of being cold to him there. Did he just think he wasn't responding to him? He does realize that the comms are down, right? Or maybe he's just thinking they had a close call. I don't know.
Tell me why
Saw.
we're being scolded for troubling you. I'm reminded the rebellion is bigger than all of us.
Man!
Why should I believe anything you say?
We know you're on Jeddah, Saw. We know you're picking off Imperial transports. Dangerous that is making things for all of us.
What you know?
She's looking a lot more like she did in the original trilogy.
You've already got an Imperial destroyer on site. It's the Empire that's after you, Saw, not us.
If only you could fight as well as you lie.
I think he's been inhaling too much of that Rhydonium.
Admiral Radis requested you join him. The missing U-wing. There's a situation.
They're back.
We're getting close, aren't we? I suspect we'll be shot down as an enemy probe. Shut up, Kate. But disobeying orders is so refreshing.
Okay, here the X-Wings come.
Comply with our specific commands will trigger immediate destruction.
I planned to tell him I was kidnapped.
It's sad that Luthen isn't gonna be around to see what he helps create, you know?
Hello.
Just us. She needs a doctor, please.
Do they know who she is?
Power down this ship, walk away, then power down yourself until further notice.
I have important news.
I certainly hope so.
Well, you guys have no idea. I like that transition.
Who's Clea?
Luthen's assistant.
She has some very urgent news.
At this point, Cassian, I think you better spit it out.
Luthen Rail had a source in the ISB, a supervisor. He just learned that the Emperor's secret energy project was the cover story for the manufacture of a weapon.
That's hardly a secret. We've been funding it for years.
Without details or inspection.
Did you hear what he just said? The weapon?
I don't know about the weapon.
Then what's the point?
Let him finish.
Exactly. Everyone else shut up. He's speaking.
But there's a connection between the Gorman destruction, the Kyber mining on Jeddah, and an Imperial engineer named Galen Erso.
It's Jyn Erso's father.
Wrapped in a big energy program basket.
I'm just reporting what...
Why are you so surprised that's what the Empire would do, girl?
The problem, Captain, is Luthen. It's hard not to wonder if your judgment here might be less than objective.
I bet you Mon is gonna speak up for him.
We're talking about someone who's been a thorn in our side since we began building this alliance.
Did you know him?
Exactly. What's wrong with you guys? And it's not about who the person is, it's about the freaking intel that he has.
I know what was wrong with him, but none of that can take away what he did, and how hard it was
Facts.
to hear him run down by people who have given a fraction of his sacrifice to this rebellion.
Exactly. Straight up.
When's the last time you two spoke?
A year ago,
A year ago.
when he had me rescued.
Do you have any more comments to make, lady? Exactly. So obviously he was telling the truth when it came to Mon Mothma. She wouldn't be alive if it weren't for him.
I'm afraid it's just as easy to believe that Luthen was the one being played.
Or worse.
His paranoia, his secrecy.
So why don't you just act on it as if it's true, just in case it is? Which it is true.
This is active intelligence.
More like puffed up speculation.
We will follow up tomorrow night with a full session. Forbidden from accessing your ship and confined to quarters.
Oh, this is the problem with senators sometimes. Besides Mon Mothma, is they're so... like, they don't see the actual fighting taking place.
Requesting permission to visit the infirmary.
Permission granted.
There we go. Yes, Mon. They don't see the full extent of the sacrifice, just as Cassian was saying, right? Like, why would you think that's false intel? Does that seem like something the Empire wouldn't do? Like, really? By the way they're acting, it's a wonder that they even won against the Empire. I hope her injury is not too bad. We need her alive and well. It is nice to see them all in the same area now, because we've had multiple stories this whole series, right? And now everything is finally coming together.
Spy on him. Help me believe him.
I have some bad news.
You gonna find Luthen?
Oh, he didn't tell him yet.
He's dead well. Will you drink to Luthen?
Just this once.
It's still hard to believe that she was the waif in Game of Thrones. She definitely has great acting range.
Gorn, Nemik,
Was she gonna name Cinta?
Taramin.
Cinta.
Oh, and Cassian did.
Mon wants to know if your Luthen story is real.
No, it's not real. He just said that for the fun of it.
He died for it. Does it matter what he did to us along the way? Claire wouldn't lie about it.
Sorry to interrupt, but while you all are debating whether this information is true or false, the Empire is building the Death Star, okay? You do not have a lot of time here.
Freedom is a pure idea. It occurs spontaneously and without instruction. There are whole armies, battalions that have no idea that they've already enlisted in...
Wait, is this the same recording that was from the Aldani arc back in season 1?
Tyranny requires constant effort. It breaks. It leaks.
What's that? Oh, he was listening to that.
Just keep spreading, doesn't it?
He's starting to doubt the Empire. That's such a deep line, though. Freedom is natural. Control is not.
I'm afraid they're waiting for you, sir.
So,
I told them I'd bring you down.
is he under arrest now?
May I have a moment to collect?
Oh, that guy. He respects him enough to give him that at least. Damn, he's just arresting everybody. There's gonna be nobody left at the end. Or is he gonna off himself right now? It's kind of looking like that. He is. Oh, he knew what he was gonna do. Because he knows it's over, I think. Wow. That's how, oh my gosh. That's how strict and stringent the Empire is. Even its own people don't want to stick around when, you know, the writing's on the wall. They don't want to face the consequences of their actions. Oh, Bix.
She's safe, isn't she?
I wonder where she is now.
It's too late for that.
She might disagree.
Once this settles down, maybe.
Well, so now she wants him to meet her. Maybe you should have stayed, girl. Of course, he's not going to be able to meet up with her after, because he's going to die first.
Don't wait too long.
Yeah, because she knows what it's like to feel as though you have all the time in the world with the person you love, only for that to be ripped away. Okay, where is she going right now, Clea? Is she losing it?
Put this on.
Yeah, she's losing it. You know, I'm almost feeling like, for the first time in a long time, she feels lost without Luthen, and we're actually seeing Clea revert back to her child self prior to being found by Luthen. She spent so much time with him, so it's understandable.
He always used to say, know your way out before you go in.
Know your way out before you go in.
Even when you know where I am.
That's a deep line. The dialogue in the show.
I have friends everywhere. You're here with friends.
That familiar line.
We were warned him sort of step away before you came back. Kyber Crystal and ISB Marlin. Luthen dying to get us in motion. Now Tivik keeps calling us.
So he knows it's true. Oh, so this is the flashback from season 1. Wow.
The man you do not like is here.
Excuse us, Roy.
Cassian doesn't like him. Can I just say, he's doing a great job playing Bale. Big shoes to fill, but he's filling it nicely.
Proceed to your contact, learn what you can. If I die fighting the Empire, I want to go down swinging.
You and Luthen would have gotten along much better than you think.
May the Force be with you, Captain.
Oh, nice. I haven't heard that phrase in the show for a while, if ever. But I'm happy that Bale's finally coming around, because it's just chilling to know that he meets his end because of this very weapon that he's skeptical to believe exists. As he's walking, it almost looks like he's not even really there. Oh, is he with a new woman? Yeah, it looks like it. It doesn't look like his wife, though. It looks like maybe his mistress. Damn. Well, Dedra's in a different uniform now. So everyone's going through their own struggle. Damn. I kind of feeling for Dedra right now. But, like, she should consider herself lucky, to be honest. Oh, the lady! I still want to know what she saw. There's Saw there. Lots of foreshadowing, too. Because obviously Saw meets his end in Rogue One, right? Is he looking at the Death Star? Oh my god. Looking at the Death Star will never get old. So we're going into the beginning of Rogue One right now. This is the end of it, I think. Maybe not. Oh, we're gonna see Bix. This is 100% Bix. She was able to go back there after everything that happened, eh? I could imagine that would be mentally tough. There she is. Wait! She has a baby. What is she cradling? She has her and Cassian's baby? She was pregnant! That was one of the things I said, guys. Didn't I say that? I said, why is she not saying anything? Is she pregnant? A couple thoughts did cross my mind. I didn't know why she was so silent. I don't know if maybe she was pregnant or was she thinking about what the healer lady had said. Go back to my video, watch that part. I called that. Oh my goodness. I'm assuming that's Cassian's kid, unless she got with someone else, but I don't think so. That makes everything so much more heartbreaking. Wow. Damn, so she was going through all that and didn't tell him? Alright guys, so first things first, I was wrong. Kind of. I was kind of thinking that this would end during the events of Rogue One, so either this would end right at the start of Rogue One, which I guess is somewhat what happened, or my other thought was that it would end with us seeing the end of Rogue One with like a time jump, so to speak. But in this case, it looks like they ended right before the start of Rogue One. This is where we'll see Cassian meet the contact that he's going after. I believe his name's Tivik. He's basically leaving to meet him now, and I think that that is when the events of Rogue One start. And just as I was editing this video, guys, I just thought of something. Is it also a possibility that the ending scene with Bix actually takes place after the events of Rogue One? It's not clear whether there was a time jump or not, but that's also certainly a possibility. So there's two possibilities. Either this takes place during the events of Rogue One or at the start of Rogue One, in which Bix would be looking at the sky, wondering when Cassian will return, when or if he'll return. And the other possibility is that the events of Rogue One have already happened and thus Cassian is dead and she is looking up at the sky to remind herself of the sacrifice that he made. Either way, definitely a touching and powerful scene. First of all, I think excellent series. Ironically though, I feel like I enjoyed episodes 7 to 9 more than 10 to 12, just in terms of suspense and excitement. But that being said, I think that it did a great job at kind of wrapping everything up and bringing everything together. With a show like Andor, you're in a unique position because you can't necessarily leave things on a cliffhanger and whatnot. You are introducing more story and new story into an already pre-existing story, and so that in itself comes with certain challenges. There are certain things that have to be wrapped up before Rogue One, and so in that sense it definitely felt like a finale, like everything came full circle. So that being said, let's break down the episode. So first of all, I want to talk about the very end. We see Bix and what appears to be her and Cassian's son, and so I mentioned during my reaction, but I 100% called this, although it was sort of in a joking way, in my last recap video. A couple thoughts did cross my mind. I didn't know why she was so silent. I don't know if maybe she was pregnant or was she thinking about what the healer lady had said. I was wondering why Bix was so quiet, and one of the reasons I stated was, is she pregnant? And I guess she maybe was at the time or shortly after that. Actually, yeah, because that would have been a year prior, right? So sorry, I was trying to do the math in my head. It looks like she has her and Cassian's child there. It looks like a son. That just makes the events of Rogue One all the more heartbreaking. I don't know how to feel about this 100% because I feel like Cassian would be thinking differently if he knew he had a child as well, right? And I don't get the impression that he does know that, because Vel did mention to him that Bix is safe and is saying that now is a good time or something like that. And based on the ending, we can infer that she was referring to their child. She probably wanted to, I guess, explain everything in person. And I'm guessing Vel probably knew as well that she was with a child, but I just have mixed feelings about it because is it fair to Cassian for him to be doing all the work he's doing with the rebellion, putting his life on the line, not knowing that he is a father. I mean, from the looks of it, I feel like Bix should have just stayed with him. I don't know. I know that won't work for the story though, because we do need Cassian to do what he does in Rogue One, obviously. None of that would have happened had Bix not left, right? So for the story it works, but then also if we pretend that we didn't know that part of the story, it just really would have made more sense, I think, if she stuck with him. I don't know. Her whole point of leaving was joining the rebellion, and she acknowledged that he had a role to play in that as well. She didn't want to stay there any longer, and Cassian was talking about leaving with her, going someplace quiet. She didn't seem to like that idea. She wanted to join the rebellion. But then now it looks as though she's kind of maybe been out of the action for a bit, raising their kid, and now he's back in the action. So they kind of did like a reverse swap. I don't know. So maybe it wouldn't have worked out. Maybe if she'd stayed, Cassian would never have gone back to the rebellion. Or maybe he would have. I guess there's a lot of what ifs and unknowns, right? But either way, that's just so sad to think about, the fact that he doesn't even know that he has a kid. And he will never know. Heartbreaking. Star Wars, why do you keep doing this to us? So this whole episode kind of felt like I said, everything coming together, all the stories we've seen thus far with Clea and Luthen and Mon Mothma and Cassian and Bix, everything just kind of came together, which was really nice. People on the Imperial side and the Rebellion side are struggling, right? You look at Clea, for example, she's obviously struggling adapting to new life on Yavin. She said one line that I really like, and it was what Luthen told her: before you go in, you have to know your way out, I believe was the line. And she said, right now, I don't know where I am. And that was just such a relatable thing for her to say. I can just imagine what it must feel like living your life a certain way for so long and then having everything you've known just taken from you and having to start over, essentially. And I think that that's what we saw Clea go through this episode. She essentially was starting over, and it looked as though when she was walking in the rain, she even maybe reverted back to her younger child self before being discovered by Luthen, kind of lost, looking for a new path, right? And I think when she found Luthen, that set her on a new path, and that's the new life she became used to and very confident in, and now we're seeing her start over. So that was really almost refreshing to see in a way, and I hope that Clea will have some type of role going forward, or even all the characters. I really like all the new characters that Andor introduced, and so it's nice that they've kind of left it open-ended for them. And over on the Imperial side, they have some struggles this episode as well. So first of all, we had some pretty epic action with the droid K2SO basically tossing around the soldiers when they were extracting Clea, so that was pretty cool. You saw that the supervisor Hirt I think is his name, he got killed. And also another person that we saw die this episode was Partagaz. He went out on his own terms. He took his own life rather than being taken by Imperial authorities, which is similar to what Luthen did last episode, right? And it just again shows some of the similarities between members of the Rebellion and members of the Empire. The fact that nobody wants to be taken by the Empire kind of shows what organization they are, how strict they are, how stringent they are. Even their own people would rather die than face the consequences of their own actions, and that includes Partagaz. You could also look at it as though some members of the Empire would rather live by the sword but aren't necessarily prepared to die by the sword. They have no problems causing all this chaos and partaking in atrocities like the Gorman massacre, but then when it comes time for themselves to face the fallout of those actions, they're not prepared to face it. So there's kind of, I guess, multiple ways of looking at it. And speaking of chaos, that's also something that Dedra said to Luthen in one of the prior episodes, as either last episode or the episode before. See, when they all drop at once, guys, it's hard for me to remember what happened in each episode. But Dedra tells Luthen that he doesn't want freedom, he wants chaos. And you could argue too, more on that note, that freedom essentially is born from chaos, right? It's just as they were showing in this episode, they were showing the speech, which I believe is the same speech that we got from the Aldani arc last season. He was talking about how freedom is very natural and control and order is not. And so the fact that even Partagaz was listening to that showed that he kind of knew the days of the Empire were numbered because the rebellion was growing. When you try too hard to come down on your citizens and control them, that will spark eventual disorder and chaos, and eventually something like a rebellion. And then until the rebellion grows too much and becomes too controlling, and then something else will form. And that's essentially, I think, what we're meant to see from shows like Andor that tell you exactly how the rebellion forms, and you could see that they've gotten less and less chaotic over the years. In a way, they're a lot more organized now. So that was all really powerful dialogue there, and again, that speech from last season was just so powerful. And I would compare it almost to Drina's speech as well during the Gorman massacre. That was also a powerful speech. But one more thing about Partagaz, you couldn't help but feel for him during that scene. And it's kind of like I've been saying, as evil as these people are and the acts that they commit are, they are in fact people. We even saw stormtroopers without their helmets this episode too, which is kind of interesting because a lot of times they're just like faceless people, right? But Andor is here to remind us that they are people with families just like everybody else. They just work for such a strict organization that they fear for their own lives, and so that's why they feel like they have to deliver, and that's why Partagaz was willing to just take that way out. But Dedra is kind of the opposite. She seems like she is prepared to face the consequences. She doesn't try to run or try to harm herself. She basically faces head on what's coming to her, and that's something you can respect about the character, even if you don't like her as a person. Even when she was going through that interrogation with Krennic, that was super intense. She still held her composure, and in this episode we see that she ends up in a prison cell. It's also very telling seeing her in a cell, just knowing that everything she worked for, all the glory she thought she would get, all the good things that were promised waiting for her, like she told Cyril, everything has come down to this. This is where her actions have led her. One thing that stood out to me this episode as well was the Senator's skepticism surrounding the intel that Cassian had for them. This part kind of pissed me off, I'm not gonna lie. Just because they were so dismissive, and I get it, you want to be careful before you act on intel in case it's not true, but why would Luthen lie about this, right? The one thing with Luthen is that he always was credible, and I think Mon Mothma's extraction by Cassian was proof of that. And the fact that they are so nonchalant about it, it's kind of haunting in a way, because Bail, for example, meets his end because of the Death Star, right? And even Mon Mothma was trying to warn Saw. Saw was paranoid that they were the ones coming after him, and like I said in my reaction, I think he's inhaling too much Rhydonium. He's super paranoid that he's not heeding their warnings, and what ends up happening in Rogue One, he ends up dying at the hands of the Death Star on Jeddah. So there was definitely a lot of foreshadowing in this episode. But yeah, overall guys, like I said, I think maybe these 3 episodes weren't perhaps as exciting as 7 to 9, but that being said, I do think that it did a great job at wrapping everything up. I like how all the stories came together, and also we saw the flashback as well, the Cassian and his sister. I like that they brought that back in, and that was kind of sad because I don't believe he ever found his sister. Nonetheless, it just felt like we were being taken back to the very beginning, given the fact that that was from season 1. And I especially just like those parallel scenes at the end showing everybody on their new path. I'm so happy that we got this series, even though at the beginning everyone was wondering, why are we getting this series? Nobody asked for this. We already know what happens to Cassian. Why do we need a whole series on him? Well, yeah, I think that the writers were definitely right to give us this, and I'm sad to see it go, but I'm thankful that we were able to get such an incredible series. So anyways guys, those are my thoughts on Andor. You let me know down below in the comments, as always, what you thought of the episode and the season and just the series overall. And as always guys, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and I will see you all for the next video. Until next time guys, take care, see you soon, and may the Force be with you.